Mrs. Callahan, if you could do the roll call, please.
Certainly. Mrs. Johnson. Yes. Mrs. Weisberg.
Here.
Mrs. Bays. Here. Ms. Brooks. Here. Ms. Epstein. Here. Ms. Gilliar. Here. Mr. Greenstein. Here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Callahan. Hello. Okay. Once again, I would like to welcome everybody back to our first in-person meeting since March of 2020. And it's, yes. I can't tell you how exciting it is for all of us to see all of you out there. And, I think everybody is just feeling it. So thank you, and thank you for coming. And to the people that couldn't make it tonight and who are watching it on the live stream, hope to see you in the auditorium one of these days soon. Tonight's meeting is going to be, a large part of tonight's meeting, I should say, is going to be celebrating staff and administrators who are retiring, as well as parent volunteers who are moving on to other pursuits, some of them perhaps even volunteering for other positions within the district. There's also going to be a number of other persons who are recognized for achievement and for their contributions to our community. We still have another board meeting on 6/22, so I'm personally not going to say goodbye to everybody tonight. I'm going to wait until the very last minute. But I do want to say Happy Pride Month to our LGBTQ community. And with that, I think we'd like to get on to the community comments because we do have a lot to cover tonight. Just want to add for community comments, it's we're obviously back live, and just step up to the podium. It's still a 3-minute limit for a comment, as it had been, as it's always been. If you want to speak again, you have to wait your turn for the next opportunity. And that's it for now. After we do the community comments, we did receive a number of written comments from individuals who were not able or unwilling to make it tonight, so we will read those out as well. So thank you. Please step up to the mic if you'd like to speak.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Melwani, co-president of the Manor Haven PTA, and I'm joined by my co-president, Karen Zweibel. Tonight we speak on behalf of our organization to recognize a bittersweet occasion, the retirements of our principal, Dr. Bonnie Cohen, and our physical education director, Megara Regan. There are a few more celebrations for Dr. Cohen and Mrs. Regan on the horizon, so we'll keep these remarks brief tonight. In normal times, Dr. Cohen was always a collaborative leader, listening to all the stakeholders in our school community, responding thoughtfully, and seeking creative solutions that put the children first. But this year was extraordinary, and some of us had an opportunity to see her in a completely new light, working 20-hour days, steering the ship of the elementary reopening committee, often with an actual parrot on her shoulder, administering the EVLP program and navigating new technologies, all while holding down the fort at Manor Haven and being even more responsive than usual to every question and concern, a feat we didn't even know was possible. We often talk about tone at the top. Throughout this wild school year, Dr. Cohen has consistently modeled the adaptability and empathy we, as parents, sometimes struggle to show our own children. Thanks to her leadership of our students, staff, and families, our children have stayed safe and remained engaged in learning all year. She has been an incredible partner to the PTA throughout her time at Manor Haven, and we all saw her shine this year as a creative problem solver and as the calm, thoughtful leader our community needed at a critical moment. Mrs. Regan, simply put, is a rock star. Among the students at Manor Haven, sure, but also in the broader physical education community. How many schools can say that their nationally recognized, award-winning PE director was interviewed as a leading light in education on NPR? Mrs. Regan is the ultimate Manor Haven cheerleader. and brings unmatched passion and tutus to her work. She not only rose to the challenge of the pandemic, she absolutely crushed it, finding creative ways to make virtual PE engaging and productive for even the youngest learners. Who would have thought that combining squats, jumping jacks, and Jeopardy over Google Meet would be so much fun? Only Mrs. Regan. She has a way of connecting with all students regardless of their physical abilities, and has brought a greater appreciation for the mind-body connection to our school. She has given our children important tools to support their physical and emotional health that will serve them for years to come. Most importantly, Dr. Cohen and Mrs. Regan operate from the same guiding principles. They share a deep love, care, and respect for our children. The kids will miss Dr. Cohen's reassuring voice over the loudspeaker every morning, and Mrs. Regan's infectious energy in PE class each day. But through their leadership, Dr. Cohen and Mrs. Regan have laid a foundation at Manor Haven that positions our children for a bright future, and for that, we are so, so grateful. We wish Dr. Cohen and Mrs. Regan well in their retirements and hope they'll keep Manor Haven in their hearts as they embark on their next adventures. Thank you.
Who's turning it off? Or?
I came here tonight. I was intending on congratulating the 3 sitting board members who are leaving because of the election we just had. But I'm going to refrain from doing so. And the reason I'm refraining from doing so is because I am extremely upset and outraged at what I just learned, that the sitting board approved a new contract for Dr. Hines. And as Dr. Hines know, I mean, no disrespect to Dr. Hines whatsoever. I think he's been doing, as I understand, a wonderful job. But to turn the backs of the electorate who voted the 3 sitting board members out of office, and in spite of that, you went ahead and approved a very important contract and didn't allow the new elected board members to participate in the vote. And I want to refer to you from the New Jersey School Board Association. The headline reads, "Lame Duck Board inappropriately issues successor contract to superintendent." Sounds very familiar. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the Commissioner of Education in New York and New Jersey agreed that there were 18 months remaining in the superintendent's contract, and as such, there was no compelling reason to modify the original contract. Sounds familiar. We also will read something from the Syracuse Post-Standard. They said a school board works for the public that elects them. The superintendent works for the board that hires them. The outgoing school board members seem to have missed this memo. Leaders in education need to inspire and unite, not dictate, demoralize, and divide. And I'll just close by saying I'm really shocked and dismayed and upset at the, my words, outrageous conduct that the board has done by voting this all-important contract without having the new board members elected by the public to sit and take this vote. I say shame on you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Regina Mclean, President of the Port Washington Teachers Association. and I'm unbelievably proud to be here tonight representing over 500 teachers, psychologists, social workers, nurses, and guidance counselors. We are caring professionals dedicated to quality education. Thank you for recognizing all of the retirees tonight of the PWTA and at your meeting this evening. We have a large number of PWTA members retiring this year. Mary Balaban, Lisa Conway, Lisa Castillo, Michael Kane, Claudia Ciotti, Barbara Dermody, Angiana Tempo, Maria Giamanco, Jill Lowe, Patricia Kirk, Megara Regan, Lillian Sears, Virginia Verderami McMahon, and Mary Lou Wright. The district will fill the positions that they have vacated, but we will never replace these individuals. Whenever a teacher retires, it is bittersweet for all of us and a loss for the district to lose master teachers. I would also like to congratulate Mary Callahan and our Assistant Superintendent for Business, and Shirley Sapiro and Bonnie Cohen on their retirements. Thank you for all your years of service to the district and to this community. And to all the paraprofessionals who are retiring, we can't do this job without you. Thank you. To everyone retiring, we wish you a relaxing, rewarding, and enriching retirement. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Karen Sloan. I'd like to just say it's really great to see everyone back here tonight. And I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to just, on behalf of the entire Port Washington community, thank every single person that works in the Port Washington School District for keeping the train running for the past 16 months during this unprecedented, frightening, and incredible time. You are amazing. The professionals that work in the school district are something that everyone in Port Washington should be so proud of. Thank you. I'd also like to thank all of the outgoing, incoming, and otherwise serving HSA and PTA presidents, and all of the volunteers in the district, which, by the way, does include the Board of Education, because this district would not run without your volunteerism. So thank you. And now to Beth Weisberg, who I affectionately like to call Siri, because as soon as she came on the board, she seemed to know everything. And if she didn't know everything, she made us think she did, both of which are very valuable skills. Thank you for taking over the Budget Committee. Thank you for everything you did on the Board of Ed. Thank you for your service. Larry Greenstein, I've been watching you for over 20 years, I think, starting in the audience, always speaking out on behalf of the children, coming onto the Board of Education, always speaking out on behalf of the children. Never any other agenda than that. Your instinct was always to make sure everyone kept their eye on the ball and looked out for the children. You haven't changed. We were lucky to have you all these years. I'm glad to know you will go on and continue to serve the children through BOCES. Thank you for your service. Nora Johnson, parent volunteer, colleague, part of my leadership team for many years. You are all heart. You never give up, no matter what. You are always there for everyone. You are the heart of the Port Washington School District. Thank you for your service. Mary Callahan, have to talk to you about this longevity, going the distance on behalf of the entire school district. There are few people that have earned such respect from an entire district over all these years. You have feathers that just don't ruffle. Your little dancing shoes will be hard to fill. Thank you for your service. And finally, to the remaining board members, thank you for all you do, all you will continue to do, to set the bar high for governance of our school district. Thank you for your service.
Good evening. It's good to see everybody, quite literally. I'm Ira Pernick, Sapir Ferrante. We're co-presidents of APSA, the School Administrators Unit. We're here tonight to congratulate 3 of our members on their retirement, Bonnie Cohen, Shirley Sapero, and Stephanie Joannan. We just want to take some time and thank them for their contributions they've made to this, to the district, to Manor Haven, to our E&L students, and to health, PE, and our wonderful athletics program. You will absolutely be missed. We are just really appreciative to have been able to work together.
And also just want to thank all of the other units, all the retirees, all the teachers, and all the paraprofessionals for all of the contributions they have made as well. Thank you.
It doesn't work, I don't think.
Okay, is this loud enough? Okay. Tessa Jordan. I think that all of the board members who are retiring have done an admirable job. But as a long-term teacher in Port Washington, as well as a student in Port Washington, even longer ago, I would really like to take this moment as an individual to thank Larry for the years that he has put in on the Board of Education. Probably many students and perhaps even many teachers do not know how much they owe to Larry. He's always been such a steadfast supporter, not only of children with special needs, but also every child in Port Washington, and by extension, every teacher in Port Washington. One thing that I and many others always especially valued in Larry has been his emphasis on letting children be children. And this happened a long time ago, not just during the pandemic, but as school became more rigorous, more restrictive, not because of what was happening in Port Washington, as much as what was happening in the state, which for many years we managed to modify to our own needs, but that became harder and harder to do. Larry always, sometimes was the only voice, but always a voice to let children be children, to have as little pressure on them as is possible in this world and this time. And I do hope that when Larry is not here on the board, that other members of the board, both ones sitting up here and ones perhaps in the audience, I don't know, will continue that thought of letting children be children, putting as few restrictions on them as is possible, and letting them have happy, stress-filled childhoods, unstress-filled childhoods. Thank you.
My mic is on. Are there any more community comments? Okay, there'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. And now, Emily Bays is just going to read the ones that we received in advance of the meeting.
Thank you. From Amy Vess, I'm asking you to stand with our children and allow them to breathe freely without masks, indoor and out. There are no credible sources and to support that masks even work. Further, children's risk of spreading or contracting is less than 1%. We are unnecessarily conditioning and harming our children's health. There are studies proving wearing masks damage on the cellular level. Unmask our children, stand up to our governor, and tell Tell him we do not support his decision to keep children masked anywhere on school grounds. Then from Kathy Galanis. I want to thank you all for all you have done for our kids this past school year. With that said, as much as I would like to attend the meeting tonight, I want you to hear my voice and make sure my comments were heard. There are only 2.5 weeks left on this school year. I want to please ask you to stand up for our kids and leave them mask-free for the remainder of the school year. Stand up to the governor and his outrageous rules. Let the parents of this great community make the choice of what is right for our kids. The pandemic is now over. We are never going to be rid of this virus, and Long Island is the lowest rate of infection since the pandemic started. Our kids are suffering. Their mental and emotional stress they are feeling is in the pandemic we are now fighting. Please, please let them have these last few weeks of schools mask-free, able to breathe and see each other's smiling faces. We all need to stand united for our freedoms, for our kids' freedoms. Thank you for your time, Kathy Galanis. We have one from Bruce Huron. With regard to action item number 12, the ratification of this agreement is premature and unnecessary. The decision to extend the superintendent's contract at this time is divisive and purely political. There is clear evidence that the outgoing trustees and their policies are unpopular, which is why all three were defeated handily on May 18th. This action at this time is nothing more than a last-ditch effort to preserve the departing trustees' self-serving and insincere legacies by ensuring Michael Hines stays present to preserve them. It should be noted that the three departing trustees were instrumental in the superintendent's initial hire, and their decisive loss on May 18th speaks poorly of him as well. That said, there is no evidence that the incoming trustees would not vote to extend the superintendent's contract. But at this point, they should be present to participate in that discussion. Not allowing them the opportunity to participate creates a hostile environment for the new board to begin work, and it sends a very negative message to the community. In closing, it appears that you may be able to make this overture now. The question is, should you? I and many others say no. Respectfully submitted. There was one that came from a Rose Amon, but all it says, or Rose Amon, A-M-O-N, it came twice, and all it says is community comment, so I don't know. Has it come? Yes, and then there's another one that just came from Susan Brasil. Okay, B-R-A-S-S-I-L. To say this has been a difficult year for students, parents, teachers, and administrators is an understatement, and I want you to know that all your hard work and the work of our teachers is genuinely appreciated. We are a district that values, quote-unquote, whole child education, and right now masks are taking a toll on our kids both socially and emotionally. As the weather heats up, it is taking a toll on them physically as well. These masks are dehumanizing. Teachers and students can no longer see the human face to read emotion, a smile, a frown, or confusion. They are a barrier to effective communication in the classroom. Children with masks on in school is not normal. Respectfully, I ask you to all take a stand and fight for our children, and please bring back normal and unmask our kids. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Emily. Thank you to those who spoke up.
Okay, now it's on.
It's been a while since I used this. The next item will be the certificates, and I believe that is going to be Dr. Shields. Am I correct?
No, I'm going to do the HSA. We're going to do the...
Okay, it's going to be Dr. Haynes.
First will be me, and then we'll pass it over to Dr. Shields. Good evening, everyone. It's really wonderful to see everybody live and in person, albeit we all have masks on, and I think I know where many of us stand, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But let's move on to some really wonderful news, and we want to show our gratitude to a whole bunch of people that have really been part of the backbone for this very, very difficult year. And the Board of Education would like to recognize the following co-presidents of the Port Washington School District's Home and School Associations for their selfless, and I really mean selfless with a capital S, and untiring work in the interests of the children of Port Washington. And first, I'm going to talk about Miss Adrienne Kane. That's right. Please stand. Come on, come on. Just real quick. Thank you. Thank you, Adrienne. So I'm going to just, because I know we don't want to be here all night, but I do want to be able to say some really wonderful things about Adrienne. I've had the pleasure of working very closely with her and Nicoletta this year, but the leadership of Adrienne has been so inspiring, and I've learned a lot from her. I have to say, in all the meetings that we've had, albeit many of them were virtual, I've grown to know you as a person who really deeply cares, not only about our children here, but certainly about the staff as well. And I know your leadership is moving on to Schreiber, but you are one of my favorite people in Port Washington. I just want to thank you. Really appreciate it. Next, I'm going to ask Dr. Pernick to speak on behalf for the Schreiber HSAs, please. He is.
Wait. It's rare that I can't be heard. Good evening once again. I'm Ira Pernick, now the principal of Schreiber High School. Yes, Adrienne is coming as co-president of Schreiber HSA. I've strapped my seatbelt on and I'm ready to go. I have the unenviable task tonight of saying thank you and saying goodbye to not one, but two HSA co-presidents, Irene Cincaneghi and Rachel Garmisa. These last 15 months have been incredibly challenging, and their work with me to maintain open lines of communication has helped get information into the hands of other parents and keep people well informed. It is never easy to be a Schreiber co-president in the best of years, but it's even harder when we are existing almost exclusively on Zoom. And I'm grateful for the work that Irene and Rachel did these really last 15 months, an entire term for Irene virtually and all of Rachel's term, existing and trying to find imaginative ways to get information out to a community that desperately needed it. And that's a credit to them as they continued and relentlessly found ways to get information into the hands of parents. So I am grateful. I stand here every year and I also remind outgoing HSA co-presidents that they joined, for me at least these last 10 years, a long line of outstanding HSA co-presidents, two of whom sit on the Board of Education, Nora Johnson and Emily Bays, who taught me so much about how to work collaboratively with the HSA. And so I say to Irene and Rachel, go, but don't go forever. There's lots of opportunity for parents to stay involved, whether it's through Parents Council or the Board of Education. Stay connected. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Dr. Pernick. Irene, Rachel, if you can stand just so we can see you, please. Thank you. And my apologies in advance. Unfortunately, just because of all the COVID restrictions, we can't hand all the flowers out and all that good stuff. So before you leave tonight's meeting, please make sure that you go to the table and take your beautiful flowers home. I'm going to ask that Ms. Javelin, please, if you wouldn't mind coming up. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It's a little weird to be in person. Being an HSA president can be a thankless job and a little overwhelming. People take this job to make a difference in their school community. Kathy Rivas, Bloom Garden, always came to the table with the "we can do this" attitude. She built amazing relationships with the parents, and every decision she made with the Weber students and staff in mind. There was often a Sunday night text message going back and forth, and of course, during the week as well. The conversation often was, "Kathy, I need, don't worry, we got it. Kathy, I need, don't worry, we got it. Kathy, can we? I'm on it. Kathy, what can we do? I'm on it. Kathy," and then she would just say, "We'll make it work." Nothing was too much for her to accomplish, and we cannot thank her enough. She was amazing at bringing calm to a very crazy year. From her backdrop for Zoom meetings to her relaxing exercises, she was always able to turn everything into positive. As she once said, and I quote her, "It's about self-awareness and refocusing any negative thoughts to positive thoughts. Children feel better about themselves and feel better about the world they live in." This is how she ran every meeting, making sure that we focus on the positive and looking for solutions and getting information out to the community. Kathy, thank you for your time and dedication that you've put towards the Weber community. It's been a pleasure being on the same team as you and working together. You'll be missed.
Thank you. Kathy, did you stand up so everyone can see you? Come on, please. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, next I'm going to ask Dr. Suzanne to please come up.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Year after year, I'm truly blessed to have not only such wonderful parent volunteers at Daly, but sensational leaders. This year is no different, as I'm here tonight to honor and thank Maris Ackerman. I'm not sure Maris remembers, but one of our first encounters involved something needing to be cut out, and it was cut out somewhat in a challenging manner. And while I would never embarrass a volunteer about their ability to cut on the lines, okay, maybe I just did, what I learned that day, and every day since, is that Maris Ackerman drops everything to get something done for Daly School. Our communications often begin with 6 a.m. texts. There are few people who can keep up with me, but I'm happy to say that Maris literally, for all those who know her, outruns me at every step. All I have to say is hand warmers, and I receive a confirming receipt that they've been sent. I don't even get the words out saying, "Will the HSA support?" And I get a, "Yup, how exciting, love it." Over the last 2 years, this practice has continued for the little things and the big. I will never, ever forget the day during quarantine that Maris showed up with her co-president at my home, with my family home, and they had all their kids to honor me on Principal's Day. It was so very, very special. Maris is always, always thinking about others and how she can make not only my day-to-day world at Daly, but the teachers just a little easier. This was not a fun year to be HSA president. Not an easy year for any of us sitting here. But these are volunteers. Maris, time and time again, helped keep the calm at Daly School, and I am forever grateful for that. Thank you to the Ackerman family for loaning Mom to us. Now she has lots more time to cuddle with all of you, even you, Adam. Thank you, Maris, for everything always, and I know you will always be an early morning text away.
Thank you, Dr. Suzanne. Maris, did you stand up so everyone could recognize you? Almost? All right, thank you. I'm going to ask Dr. Liccato if you can please come up. Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our Guggenheim HSA co-president, Jenny Gammons, who will sadly be leaving us. I cannot thank her enough for all of her hard work and dedication to Guggenheim this past year. She came into this position during a worldwide pandemic and brought so much passion and kindness to everything she did. She's the epitome of a person with a huge heart and demonstrates compassion, love, and warmth to everyone she meets. She's helped to organize many special events throughout the school year that have demonstrated gratitude to our staff and made everyone feel special and appreciated during a very difficult time in our lives. She has also managed to help our school community feel safe and secure during a very uncertain time and communicate information in a clear and concise manner. Jenny has spent over a decade at Guggenheim Elementary School, where she has 2 older children go through our school and currently has her daughter as a 2nd grader in our school. She has dedicated hundreds of hours a month to Guggenheim and all of our virtual programs and kindness initiatives that have helped our school. Whenever she had a moment to herself, she was volunteering her time to make our school a better place for our staff as well as for our students. She has supported our programs and volunteered her time to ensure that our students had positive experiences outside of the academic school day through a variety of initiatives and programs, including the beautification of our garden. These programs surely made our Googies feel more well-rounded and cognizant of and aware of the world around us. She was truly a cheerleader for our school and was always there to support all of our initiatives and never once hesitated to lend a helping hand. We will forever miss her positive outlook on life, her smile, and her constant desire to support our administrative efforts within our building. Although we will miss her daily presence at Guggenheim next year, we're thankful she will continue working as a volunteer with our garden initiatives. We are certain she will continue to make a difference at our school, and we're forever grateful for that. To say we will miss Jenny is an understatement. Her love, support, and presence was always a big part of our school community. Thank you once again for not only enhancing our professional life as administrators at Guggenheim Elementary School, but in our personal lives as well. She has truly become a part of our school community and family, and she will not be forgotten. On a personal level, when I reflect upon this past year, I think about a Maya Angelou quote. I've learned that people will forget what you've said, people forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I personally thank her from the bottom of my heart for being my biggest support and cheerleader during a very difficult time. I wish her much luck in the future and know she will continue to be there to support our school community.
All right, Jenny, do you mind just standing up real quick?
She's
No,
not
she's
here.
not here. All right. That's good, Mike. I'm glad I noticed that. And thank you, Dr. Licata. Let's move on to Dr. Cohen. Dr. Cohen, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Bonnie Cohen, Manor Haven Principal, and it's my pleasure to say a few words about Jessica Melwani, outgoing PTA co-president of Manor Haven School. Working with Jessica has been an incredible experience. She has an energy that can sometimes catch me off guard. When I'm at my computer and emails start coming, I know that I have to put everything aside because lots of things are going to happen in a very short amount of time. I was not surprised to hear that Jessica will be moving on to Parents Council. Jessica is a strong, smart woman who clearly has a district perspective and a global vision. She shared her views and ideas at both the building level and district committees this year. Her work on the reopening committee, many committees, was tireless, and she was always a voice of reason. Jessica has a gift for running meetings, and I've learned a lot from her. Collecting and sorting questions before meetings was a great idea and one that I've adopted for myself. Whether she is hosting a PTA meeting or a virtual event for families, her presence on the screen seemed like, at one time, she had done this professionally. So today, after all of these years, I found that in fact, Jessica is an experienced journalist and reporter and has worked in the field. While a PTA co-president, Jessica started the Manor Haven Diversity Committee with her co-chair, Analia Quesby. We had our second International Spirit Week, despite the limitations of the year, and a very special meeting where former Port Washington E&L students came to address the committee as young adults. Hearing their perspective about their time in elementary school was eye-opening to me and the other educators who attended the meeting. Under Jessica's PTA leadership, we were involved in Boosterthon and other successful fundraisers. This year, the PTA purchased a tent for our librarian to teach outdoors and sponsored virtual programming so each grade could plan a special event. Just to name a few additional PTA-sponsored programs, our children benefited from STEM Club, Chess Club, Yoga Club, and dancing classrooms over the past 2 years. Next year's PTA-sponsored programming is being planned right now. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank Jessica for everything she has done for Manor Haven School, and especially for sharing her boys, Dev and Cal. And thank you to Jessica and the PTA Executive Board for all of your efforts this crazy year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cohen. Jess, would you mind just standing up so we can acknowledge you? Thank you, Jessica. We're going to move on to Ms. Sheehan.
Good evening. It is my honor to say a few words this evening for our outgoing HSA co-president, Gabrielle Sternberg. What a year it has been. Not only did you move into your role as co-president during a pandemic, you stepped into the role with a new principal. Boy, are you brave. Thank you for not running for the hills and keeping me smiling and supporting me every step of the way. You have demonstrated courage, strength, trust, grace, and your smile is always present, even though it's under your mask. You have helped to guide me, encourage me, educate me, lots of history lessons. And you may have even poked me a little once in a while. Only when I needed it, though. The team we have formed along with Weaver has been a huge bright spot in this year for all of us. Thank you for all the text, calls, impromptu Google and Zoom meetings. Thank you for the heads up when it was needed and your endless commitment to the well-being of our students. Our HSA has been amazing, generous, and supportive. That, my friend, is because you have been their captain. As you prepare to move on to the ranks of past president on our executive board, know that you will always be remembered fondly when I think of our kindergarten tours in August together, our virtual assemblies that are just way too many to count, including this week, red mats for our students to sit on at outdoor snack, whenever I visit our garden or bring the composting trash out, for our free mask Fridays, equipment and bags for recess, food trucks and staff appreciation events. The list can go on and on. The reality is you embrace three qualities that we as a community strive for each and every day. You are kind, you are confident, you are compassionate, and that means that you are SUSA strong. So on behalf of our community, our school community, I thank you for your strength in the year when we needed it most, but most importantly, for your never-ending commitment to the Port Washington community.
Thank you, Ms. Sheehan. Gabby, would you mind just standing up so we can acknowledge? Thank you. All right, Dr. Ferrante, please. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So in such a crazy year, it is so nice to celebrate someone who helped keep the calm. Cara Hristoforatos has been by my side since last year, helping me navigate these stormy waters. While this year was not a traditional one, where we had programs and events, the HSA and Cara was there for us in so many other ways. Cara touched base with me all the time, and while I was being a cheerleader for so many others, she was mine. Her patience, wit, and good old sound judgment kept me going, as I know it did for so many others. She was the glue that connected the parents to the school. She is going to be greatly missed as the co-president this year, though I'm lucky as she will be around for many more years to come as a Salem parent, as her youngest is still in kindergarten. I hope you capture some of the hours in your day back next year. You get to enjoy some me time, and your family gets to have you back as well. Thank you for lending her to us. I know she couldn't be here with us tonight, but I hope she is listening to this and knows just how much I appreciate her. Thank you, Cara, for everything.
Thank you, Dr. Ferrante. I'm going to ask Dr. Mioli to speak about our outgoing Ag 8 president, please.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. A short while ago, the superintendent asked if I would, on behalf of the district, thank outgoing Ag 8 President Nanette Melwani at tonight's meeting for her service to that organization and to the district. What came to mind almost immediately was a 1967 Beatles song, but more on that in a minute. As most of you know, I became interim assistant superintendent last summer, and one of my first assignments was heading up the district instructional committee, charged with designing several possible instructional models to deal with the evolving COVID crisis and the need for remote or partially remote teaching and learning. Shortly thereafter, I received an email from Nanette and Kim asking me about a litany of things from suspended testing for the ESTEAM program to accelerated opportunities at Schreiber. There would be several such emails during July and August. Only a few days ago, I got my most recent email from Nanette as a member of another group, the Vision and Mission Committee, making some final suggestions on syntax for that document, which was sent to the board last week for their review. In between, there have been dozens and dozens of emails, a bunch of Zoom meetings, a presentation or two, and even an occasional phone call. I'd be lying if I didn't say that I'm happy to see her moving on. But seriously, Nanette has been a terrific advocate for Agate in her years on the board of that organization and a consistent and persistent voice for enrichment opportunities and a high level of unexpected promotion, and a high level of challenge for all Port Washington students. In the fall, Dr. Hines and I took questions, and I got an unexpected promotion during the Conversations with the Superintendent's evening. During the winter, Dr. Alyssa Brown was brought in as a guest speaker who reminded us of the purpose and importance of gifted education. Last month, she attended and contributed to the Board Curriculum Committee discussion of gifted and talented education. These are only a few of the ways we have crossed paths as Nanette has kept Agate front and center this year. As sad as Agate will be to see her go, we all now know that she will continue her work on behalf of the school district and the community as a soon-to-be trustee of the Board of Education. This may be, in fact, the last board meeting where I don't have to answer questions publicly from her. So while many of you are saying goodbye tonight, some of us are not. And now to that Beatles song, in the immortal words of Paul McCartney, 1967. You say yes, I say no. You say why, and I say I don't know. Oh no. You say goodbye, and I say hello. Thank you.
It's all downhill from here, Dr. Meal. Nanette, if you wouldn't mind standing so we could recognize you. Thank you. Last and certainly not least, I'm going to ask Dr. Allen to please come up.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's always the worst to come after Dr. Meoli. I'm just going to say that because I don't have a song, I don't have anything clever, so I'm sorry about that. I am very fortunate tonight to be here to thank yet again Mrs. Jennifer Scotto Robinson. I think this is the third year I've had the pleasure to thank her for her tireless advocacy for during this past year as our Septa president. She was a tremendous help to me throughout the entire pandemic and to many of our parents. Mrs. Robinson makes it her responsibility to stay on top of major concerns and keeps her finger on the pulse of our community. She is an excellent communicator and open to speak with parents about any of their concerns. When she doesn't know the answer, she makes sure to find it out. Just last week, and then actually again last night, she emailed me with a new one. She prefaced it by saying she wanted to make sure she was giving the parents the correct information. Mrs. Scotto Robinson is always willing to learn and stays on top of the hot ticket items in the world of special education. She is wonderful to work with, and I am so very happy that she'll be staying on again with Septa as their co-president during the 21-22 school year. I'm also extremely excited to welcome back Mrs. Kara Hurstafaratis as our other Septa co-president. So I really am the luckiest. Thank you.
Jen, come on, please stand up so we can acknowledge you. Thank you, Jen. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing Mrs. Robinson. I truly look forward to working with Nicoletta next year and to Jessica next year as well. We have a lot of wonderful work ahead of us, and I want to thank you in advance. And thank you for everyone for your service to the community of Port Washington. So now I have the honor, let's get my bearings here, to talk about, oh, actually I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shields, then I'll have the honor to talk about something else later. Thank you. Dr. Shields?
Thank you, Dr. Hines. The Board of Education and the district administration would like to recognize the following retirees. The children of the Port Washington School District have been very fortunate to have had your talents and skills working on their behalf. Thank you for your dedicated service. We wish you good luck, health, and great success in your retirement. I would ask that each retiree stand when your name is called and come forward to pick up a plaque of appreciation from the table off here to the side. Some retirees are watching via live stream, and we will deliver their plaques to their schools. I'll begin with Mike Kane, daily physical education teacher. Mary Callahan, assistant superintendent for business and our district clerk. Lisa Castillo, kindergarten teacher at Salem. Shirley Sapiro, director of ESL. Claudia Ciotti, pre-K at Daly. Dr. Bonnie Cohen, principal of Manor Haven. Lisa Conway, esteemed teacher at Daly. Barbara Dermody, kindergarten teacher at Guggenheim. Maria Giamenko, high school physical education teacher. Ann Gianna Tempo, Weber, 6th grade. Patricia Kirk, speech at Guggenheim. Jill Lowe, kindergarten teacher at Sousa. Megara Regan, physical education teacher at Manor Haven. Rosemary Ruggiero, district treasurer in the central office. Lillian Sears, speech teacher at Schreiber. Mary Seligman, high school librarian. Virginia Verderami McMahon, first grade teacher at Guggenheim. And Mary Lou Wright, fourth grade teacher at Sousa. Congratulations to you all, and I will turn it back to Dr. Hines.
Okay, congratulations to everyone who was just recognized, and thank you so much for your service. We are now going to move on to item 7, which is the adoption of tonight's agenda. Do I have a second? Okay, Ms. Brooks, all in favor? I still do that. It's back to the old way, right?
Yeah, back to the old way. All in favor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the report of the superintendent is next.
All right, so Dr. Shields, if you wouldn't mind just updating us with an enrollment report?
Of course. The last enrollment report was done on May 25th. We have 5,287 students. That's 189 students than this point last year. And I would also share with you that the enrollment of our incoming kindergarten class as of today is 324 students. We're projecting 391 students to enroll before the end of the summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shields. So first I want to talk about a few things in a very brief way. And I want to bring our community up to speed regarding how school districts have been in a yo-yo match with the masking mandates coming from the New York State Department of Health and Governor Cuomo. So just a quick rehash of the timeline here. On Wednesday, June 2nd, our governor made a statement at his press conference about considering relaxing the mandate that students wear masks. Now on Friday, June 5th, school districts and parents found out that Commissioner Dr. Howard Zucker from the New York State Department of Health wrote a letter to the CDC stating, New York State plans to align our school and camp mask guidance as follows, in both settings as a minimum statewide guidance. Indoors, mask use will be strongly encouraged but not required for students, campers, and staff, teachers, counselors who are not fully vaccinated. Second, outdoors, masks are not required. Students, campers, and staff, teachers, counselors who are not fully vaccinated are encouraged to wear a mask in certain higher risk circumstances. Third, both indoors and outdoors students, campers, and staff who are fully vaccinated do not need to wear masks. And then finally, schools and camps may choose to implement stricter standards. If there is any data or science that you are aware of that contradicts moving forward with this approach, please let me know as soon as possible. Then he signed off by stating, we plan to make this guidance effective on Monday, June 7th, which was yesterday. Now, we all know this information was shared late Friday afternoon, which is always an optimal time to share information in a school district, as schools closed for the weekend. Superintendents, administrators, boards of education were left not knowing what would happen next. And on Sunday, we received a statement from our New York State Commissioner of Education, Dr. Betty Rosa. She stated that schools are still bound by the Executive Order 202.60 from September 1st, 2020. She stated the letter from Dr. Zucker to the CDC doesn't change any existing arrangements and schools should operate under their existing procedures until further notice. Yesterday, Governor Cuomo held another press conference where he clearly articulated that mask mandates for schools set forth by the CDC will remain unchanged for the next several weeks. As such, New York State mask mandates for indoor school activities will also remain in place for the remainder of this academic school year. The only change for New York State schools, per the governor's announcement, will be the state's guidance for mask wearing during outdoor activities. Now, after I conferred with our Board of Education, our administrators, and the PWTA, the district notified the school community within a few hours of his press conference that as of today, June 8th, no masks are required outside, but they are still required inside. Now, it's important to note that 3 school districts on Long Island chose to move in a different direction and were told by the governor's office that if they didn't reverse their decision, sanctions would come forth against the school board trustees, the superintendent, and the district. His office also stated that students would have to learn remotely. So we are hoping to receive updated guidance from the CDC, the New York State Department of Health, and our Board of Regents in the early part of the summer for updated guidelines related to the new school year. We are also praying that we don't receive this guidance on August 30th, right before school starts. I anticipate, though, that we will find out in mid-July. So in the meantime, I appreciate everyone's incredible patience and understanding with this incredibly difficult situation. Second, after communicating with our elementary principals, and they in turn spoke with teacher leadership within their respective buildings, I'm happy to share that in preparation for next year, we will begin to take down the elementary desk shields beginning Thursday. We will notify parents. We will notify our parents and staff tomorrow, and we'll move forward in phases to make sure we are being respectful of those who may be anxious by doing so. And then finally, congratulations to all of our retirees. If you put all those amounts of years of service to our kids together, it would be a lot of time. And your leadership, your mentorship, and your impact on children in Port Washington can never be replaced, and we are so thankful for what you have done. And if there is a mandate by Governor Cuomo, it should be that you need to chill out for the next year and do absolutely nothing. Thank you. I'm just going to keep going. So I have the honor, and I see him back there right now. We have a wonderful detective here who I want to thank publicly. And I believe he brought his wonderful wife who works here as well. I want to introduce Detective Michael Setta. Those of us who remember the incredibly horrific incident that took place at Sousa with the swastikas being painted on the outside of the schools in late April, I'm sure we remember it like it was yesterday. Detective Setta was instrumental in working with David Miller, who's at the high school, the hate crimes unit with the Nassau County DA's office, and Michael answered my texts and calls right away when I had questions, and I could truly say he took this so to heart, and I cannot thank you enough for assisting us in resolving and finding out what happened and who it was. You can feel it when you spoke to him. I remember I spoke to him outside. I met him for the first time at Sousa outside. I think you were on the roof. I was like, what's he doing on the roof? But he was all over the place. And he grew up in Port. I know his love for our community shows. And I just want to publicly acknowledge and thank you for everything that you have done. Thank you, Detective. And I'm going to ask you to please stand up because that seems to be what I keep saying. Thank you. You're going to be sick of hearing my voice. I have one more session here. And I'll be as brief as possible, even though it's very hard to do that with my next three people I'd like to discuss. As you know, we have 3 outgoing board trustees, and I'd like to acknowledge and honor them, as some of you have done today, which is greatly appreciated. Being a board trustee, I can't say it's the hardest job because it's not a job, they don't get paid. And I think some people believe that board trustees do get paid. And, I think maybe sometimes we wish they did. But I can honestly say they work 30, 40, 50 hours a week trying to keep our district moving forward. And the first person I'd like to acknowledge is our president, Nora Johnson. And when I work with board trustees, I always try to think of what their perspective is, like what lens are they seeing things through. Even though they see things through multiple lenses, I always like to attribute one. And so with Nora, I'm going to say she looks at things through an equity lens. And when you work with the board president, it is a team of 2. I at times probably spoke to Nora more than I spoke to my wife, Erin. And I can honestly say everything that we have done, at least over the past 2 years, Nora has fought for to make sure there were equitable outcomes for our students. And that's one thing that will resonate and has resonated with me, and I'm deeply grateful from learning from one of the best. So thank you, Nora. Larry. Larry is, I've worked with many board trustees over the years. And Larry, I have to say, is one of the board trustees I couldn't figure out initially. And what I mean by that is Larry is straight as an arrow as far as where he's coming from. And so the lens that I see him always looking through, which I think Karen may have mentioned it before, is with our students with disabilities, our special needs kids, our most vulnerable kids. Larry is the voice, not the show, the voice, but the voice for the underserved and for those who may need a little bit more, and making sure that they get the resources they need and deserve. And I can honestly say, I keep saying honestly because I am being honest, and I'm trying to not use too many filters here. I deeply respect Larry's knowledge, I respect his passion, and it will be greatly missed. And I've learned, Larry, so much from you that I know, thank goodness, you are serving on the board at BOCES, because that means you're just impacting more kids across Nassau County. So thank you, Larry, for everything you have done. And then finally, I think we heard the word Siri. We have Beth Weisberg, who is, if she's not saving lives outside of her board trustee role, I'm not sure if many of you know, you probably do. I think she sees things through an educator's lens. We know Beth at one point was a teacher. She'll always be a teacher. And when she was making decisions, whether I was making recommendations or I'm sure Kathy Mooney was, she always had her educator's cap on when thinking about how to move things forward. And it's always refreshing, and it's always nice to have another fellow educator in a leadership role when you are moving things forward in a school district. And so, Beth, I have learned so much from your steady hand, your voice of reason, and your perspective about what's best for kids in an educational setting. So thank you, Beth. Now, because of the COVID restrictions, unfortunately, I can't give you your plaques, but they are planted on that table over there, so please don't forget them when you leave. All right, thank you. I'm done hearing my own voice, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, moving right along here. We're going to item 9 on the agenda, and I am going to move to adopt or accept the minutes from the following. The May 18th, 2021 Board of Education meeting, minutes from the May 7th, 2021 Board of Ed curriculum/policy work session minutes, and on the May 19th Policy and Personnel work session minutes. Do I have a second? Ms. Bays? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, thank you. Discussion item. Okay, now we're going to move on to committee reports. Is there a report from the Policy and Personnel Committee? Ms. Brooks?
Thanks. I had a vision of pulling all the microphones off the tables. I wanted to be careful. One door closes, another door opens. We welcome Ms. Priscilla Zarate to fill the position of Director of ENL. So we had a meeting, sorry about that. The meeting was on May 19th, right after, the day after the election. We have filled the Manor Haven principal spot with Juanita Diaz. Welcome. We have filled the Sousa principal spot with Meg Sheehan. Congratulations to you. Currently the hiring process is underway for the assistant principal position that is split between Guggenheim and Sousa. Let's see what else. I'm just going through the minutes. We went over the audit committee policy that was put forward by Ms. Epstein. Ms. Callahan reviewed the policy, doesn't see a need for the policy, but we're going to run it by at her successor, Ms. O'Hara, and see if she feels that it's necessary. We pretty much went through the online distance and remote learning policy, and it was decided that was not needed at all. We're going to use the code of conduct and other devices we have to fulfill those objectives. We went over the sexual harassment of students policy. It's currently with our attorneys. Oh, I'm sorry. It's currently with our attorneys. Sorry about that. Currently with our attorneys, and we'll be on for, I think, a first reading next time. Student gender identity policy is also going to be incorporated on a rolling, we're waiting for the NYU Metro Center for their suggestions. That's under review. The attendance policy is under review. We're going to have a revised draft brought back in June. We're going to review our code of conduct with NYU Metro. We did a lot last time. We went through the accounting of fixed assets. That is currently under review in central administration. We reviewed computer use and instruction and accessible use policy. That is also under review in central administration. And at our next meeting, Dr. Shields will double check to make sure all of our policies subject to annual review have been on the agenda this year. And then that will conclude this year. So our next meeting is June 16th at 9:30 in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is budget and facilities. Beth?
We had a meeting on June 1st. We had some discussion about facilities use and looking into the potential for, needing to increase fees for our facilities use. And we also discussed some of the construction bids. I don't think we've come to a full conclusion on that, but that will be all decided by our next board meeting. And that was about it.
Okay, thank you for that. Curriculum Committee, Rachel?
We have not had a meeting since our last evening Board of Education meeting, so nothing to report there, but we have a meeting on Friday morning, June 11th at 10 a.m., and the subject is core extension.
Okay, thank you. Julie, you're going to want us to speak to safety and substance? Thank you.
Safety and Substance met in late May on the 25th. We had our final meeting of the year where we discussed and formalized what we were going to do for Unity Day. We'll have greater student voice, and we look forward to bringing everyone together on October 20th. So thank you. Do you want me to go more? It also was decided that the Safety and Substance Committee will become a district committee and will not be reported at board meetings moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Diversity Committee has not met, and I do believe there will be some reorganization of that committee going forward, probably starting over the summer, so keep an eye out for that. Legislative Task Force, is there anything to report? Okay, no report from the Legislative Task Force. Thank you. Now we're on to the action items, and this is what's called the consent agenda. And we go through it quickly, rather quickly, but there are quite a few number of items that need to be singled out. First of all, I want to point out a number of very generous donations, and I would like to thank, let me see now, item 12.1.3, thank you to the Jan Havasi Scholarship Fund for a very generous donation. 12.1.4, thank you to the Boyle Scholarship Fund for a very generous scholarship for a Schreiber student. They're kind of spread throughout this, so I just have to pull them out. 12. Well, it's anyway, I think it's 12.1.9. Yes, okay, I got it. It's the Rain Lumi Scholarship Fund at Schreiber High School. Thank you very much if you're out there, and thank you for that donation. We also have 12.3.4, which is another donation, this time from Hearts, as is 12.3.5 is another donation from Hearts. So thank you very much to that organization for your ongoing generosity to the community, to the students. We appreciate it very much. I think that might be it on the donations. Okay. I want to pull out item 12.1.13, and I will read that one, and that is a very well-deserved honor for my colleague, Larry Greenstein. And this is a resolution which we will be voting on separately, together actually with the consent agenda, but I wanted to highlight it. Resolved that the Board of Education of Port Washington School District hereby nominates Lawrence Greenstein of the Port Washington Board of Education for the Everett R. Dyer Award for Distinguished School Board Service. Now, this is an honor to have served with Larry, and we're very honored to be even nominating him for this award. And I believe that the next step is that it goes to NYSBA, and it's a statewide award. It's a recognition for the, every year they give it to the top-rated board member in the state. So we are putting Larry's name in, and hopefully the powers that be will recognize his contributions. So thank you again, Larry, for your service, and let's hope this comes through for you and for us. I'm also going to pull out item 12.3.8, which is another donation that will be addressed at our next meeting. So that's going to be off the consent agenda. So at this point, I want to move to adopt resolutions 12.1 to 12.4.11. Do I have a second? Okay, Beth Weisberg. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, now I'm going to pull out for a separate vote This is for Mike. Yeah, I know. I'm just getting to it. Okay. It's, if anybody has their agendas out there, it is item 12.4.12, and I will read it. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves and ratifies the agreement between Dr. Michael Hines and the Port Washington Union Free School District for the period of July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2025, and this agreement is dated today, June 8th, 2021, with an annual base salary of $295,800. The agreement is in effect, that salary, is in effect from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, so it's for 1 year. Would we, I know some people have comments before we vote, if we want to.
Can we do the rest of the consent agenda and then?
How would you want to do it? I'm sorry?
I think you need a second, Nora.
12. Can we do 12?
Okay.
Personnel
Okay.
until point 12 as consent and then?
Okay. All right, so I'm pulling that one out and leaving that aside for the moment. So the, let's vote on 12.1 through 12.4.11. Do I have a second? Okay, Beth, all in favor? Okay, great. And then we are going to skip ahead to 12.5 through 12.6.2, not pulling anything out, but to those items. Do I have a second on those items from the consent agenda? Okay, Emily Bays. All in favor? Okay, great. Okay, so now we're back to 12.4.12, which is the contract.
Get a second before we go to discussion.
Do you think we should
Get a second.
vote on it before we speak?
Either way, but a second
Okay.
before we.
Do I have a second? Do you want to vote first or have this?
No, I think we should have that as a discussion. Does
But you-
anybody-
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
You usually get something seconded before you go to discussion.
So,
Excuse me, Nora. You need to have a second, and then you have your discussion.
She said what I said.
Okay.
Second and then
Okay, we're going to have a discussion about that, but in order to do so, we need to make a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, Emily, everybody in favor? Or do you don't have to do that? You All right, okay. Okay, we're going to discuss it. Sorry about this. It's a different procedure than I'm used to. Anybody like to lead the discussion? Okay, Deb.
Dr. Hines and I started our official position. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was screaming. I'm sorry. Dr. Hines and I started our official positions here in Port at the same time, with the majority of our service defined by the pandemic. In that 2 years, we both experienced successes and grew from learning opportunities. In my evaluation of Dr. Hines, I wrote that I admired his perseverance during the pandemic, how he came to work ready to seize the day, every day, seemingly 24/7, ready to lead and tackle the many challenges that presented themselves like a three-dimensional game of whack-a-mole, determined to see his new district through a difficult time. Through it all, Dr. Hines never lost focus of the important work he came here to do and never wavered in his determination. From the beginning, he saw the need to establish a vision and mission for this district, to work on diversity, equity, and inclusivity, to map curriculum, to institute inclusion classes, to develop a portrait of a Port graduate, and many other initiatives, and he made great strides despite the chaos of COVID-19. His work is important and necessary on many levels and is intended to benefit all of our students. I took my fiduciary duty to evaluate Dr. Hines pursuant to the terms in his current contract and good business practices very seriously. After completing his evaluation, I believe it is important that Dr. Hines continue as our superintendent. During this process, I did not see eye to eye with my fellow board members on the vacation buyback provision in the new year one and did not agree on a procedural issue. After sharing my perspectives with my board colleagues and spending much time weighing my perspectives against that of the majority, and wanting to avoid any possibility of being misconstrued as having a lack of confidence in Dr. Hines or our joint goals and mission, I decided to set aside my individual perspective and join with the majority. Accordingly, because I support the important work that Dr. Hines is doing and wants to continue to do on behalf of the district and the community, I join the majority of my colleagues in voting yes. I thank Dr. Hines for wanting to commit himself to another contractual term in Port schools. It shows me he is proactively committed to continuing to explore and understand the unique culture and needs of our community and school district, and to doing meaningful work here for years to come. I look forward to the important work ahead, hopefully with this devastating pandemic soon far behind us. Congratulations to you, Dr. Hines, and thank you.
I am known for reminding about process. Can you hear me? So I'm known for reminding about process on this board. And so again, I would like to talk about process. It is the Board of Education that sets goals, and based on those goals, the superintendent aligns his. This takes place annually after all newly elected board members and remaining board members are sworn in at reorg. The setting of board goals allows every board member ample opportunity to offer their opinions on the trajectory of our school district going forward. This is how change is made in Port Washington. As one of the trustees who is actively involved in the extensive search for a new superintendent and who hired Dr. Hines, I was eager to work with him and excited for the future of our district. I knew that Dr. Hines had a plan in place which started with him getting to know all the stakeholders in our school district. That process was in place, and Dr. Hines was preparing to share the feedback he had received when COVID struck. The pandemic created an entirely new working dynamic between boards, superintendents, community members and stakeholders across the country, not just Port Washington. The pandemic did not come with rules, and it did not come with training. This year, despite the ongoing pandemic, Dr. Hines resumed the work he had committed to when we originally hired him. In an effort to lead the district and simultaneously be transparent with the community, he and this Board of Education made sure committees with all stakeholders were formed and have been actively meeting and working towards our board and superintendent goals. This is why I feel confident in voting to extend his contract and to continue on the path we set our school district in when we hired him. I believe Dr. Hines deserves an extension, and I believe that I am fully within my right to give him this extension now. In fact, it is actually standard practice in school districts to extend a superintendent's contract 1 year in advance. I will be voting yes.
Thank you, Emily. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, Julie, and then Rachel.
I support the extension of Dr. Hines' contract. This is the actual work that we as board members were elected to do. It is the majority of this sitting board that has had 2 years of extensive experience working with Dr. Hines and has been able to complete 2 full-scale evaluations of his performance. Based on this, I do not believe it is responsible to straddle a new board with a rushed evaluation of a superintendent in less than 6 months while learning the mechanics of the board role. The complexion of the Board of Education will be changing in July, but the roles and responsibilities of how the board governs does not. This decision to extend the contract was not entered into quickly or lightly and followed the necessary steps to come to a sound and substantiated decision. As a board member, I take my role and the responsibility that the community has entrusted me with very seriously. I understand that I have a perspective and knowledge that the general public does not possess because they are not privy to see the entire landscape from this vantage point. I have been elected to look forward, to help charter the direction and path of the district towards growth, a growth that can only happen if the board-superintendent relationship is strong. I can learn from the past, but must continue to charge forward. I am an elected official, but do not view this as a political position. I view this rather as a way to do the best for our students, our staff, and our taxpayers. This renewing of the superintendent's contract is the first step in that forward motion towards growth and fulfilling our mission and vision. I look forward to implementing further future steps once the trustees-elect are sworn in, and I thank you, Dr. Hines, for your time.
Thank you, Julie. Next, we have Rachel Gillier.
On tonight's agenda is a new contract for Dr. Hines, which extends his current contract until July of 2026. For many reasons, I believe that this is the right decision for Port Washington, and I support it completely. This community and I heralded Dr. Hines' arrival and were waiting with bated breath for the educational shifts we all anticipated would occur under his leadership. Then COVID hit, shifting the focus of the school district to its work successfully schooling during this crisis, a challenge our district staff have been working tirelessly to solve over the past year and a half. Our superintendent has now had almost 2 years here, but only 8 months of that time was before COVID threw normal plans and goals out the window. As the pandemic begins to wane, I look forward to Dr. Hines having the space to partner with our staff to implement the plans and programs that are the reason we were so excited to see him come to our school district. But while I fully support Dr. Hines and the decision to extend his contract, I take issue with how this process was implemented by this board. I do not think the board's consideration of the superintendent's contract for renewal should come as a surprise to the community, parents, and staff of Port Washington. But I'm aware that to many this does. To say things should be done in public with sunshine does not mean I criticize the outcome. But in a democracy, transparency matters. I also disagree with the timing of this contract renewal, which occurs following the Board of Education elections, but before the newly elected trustees have been sworn. In a democracy, elections matter. Now let me be clear, The board's actions tonight are unquestionably legal. This remains the duly empowered Board of Education, even though on July 1st, 3 of our members will be replaced with newly elected trustees. But not everything that is legal is right. As a fiduciary of the school district, elected by popular vote, and as a staunch believer in democracy, the undemocratic appearance of this decision troubles me greatly. Despite these concerns about process, I vote yes tonight because sometimes the wrong path can still end in the right destination. This board is made up of 7 individuals who have to work in harmony to make decisions, and that means that one individual does not control the question in front of us. If you asked me as an individual whether I wanted this vote to be now, the answer would be no. I would instead have it when the new board members have been sworn. But the question before me is whether I will renew this contract now or never when it is before me. As the district emerges from a pandemic, we need strong and steady leadership. We need Dr. Hines' whole child philosophy of education. We need humanity, kindness, and caring for our students' physical and emotional well-being as we return to normal. We need Dr. Hines' progressive educational vision to lead our talented staff as we create a vision and mission and a strategic plan that closes the opportunity gap in Port Washington while reaching for excellence for every student in this district and giving every child what they need to achieve their own success. I look forward to partnering with Dr. Hines in the coming years as he is finally able to turn his attention away from COVID and towards strategic planning for the future of Port Washington. Thank you for your hard work this year, and congratulations on the renewal.
Okay, Larry.
Not being a lawyer, I haven't actually written anything. The way things work in school boards is if you do not renew a superintendent's contract before the beginning of his last year, it is essentially saying, please go elsewhere. We have an obligation to renew the superintendent's contract if that is our desire, and it is our desire. I've been on the board a long time, and we've been working for a long time trying to push a district forward. Dr. Mooney was great in steadying the ship. Dr. Hines is the person who's pushing it forward. He is truly a transformational leader, and that's what we need. Although transformational leaders sometimes get opposition, what he is doing is the right thing for the district. If we want better rankings, if we want better graduation rates, if we want less stress, just let Dr. Hines do his thing and not second guess him at every step. If we let Dr. Hines do what he's supposed to be doing, the finish will come here to ask how Port Washington is doing what it's doing. So I happily support the extension of your contracts. Thank you.
Okay, I think Beth has some words to say.
I will be very quick. I kind of echo what Larry said. The normal course of business for the renewal of a superintendent's contract happens prior to the start of his last year of his contract or her contract. That has been our practice. It was our practice with Dr. Mooney. It was also our practice, I believe, with Dr. Gordon, if you go back that far. And that is the practice of most boards of education. If a superintendent does not have his contract renewed prior to the start of that last year, he will start looking. He should start looking because that is when most superintendent jobs are posted and hired. They begin about a year prior to, and so many interviews and search committees begin over the summer prior to the year. I certainly did not believe it was in the best interest of the Port Washington School District to have our sitting superintendent involved in a job search while trying to reopen schools again in September for yet the second time in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. Therefore, it was the time was right. It was appropriate. This was a process, by the way, that began in February with our start of his evaluation. Unfortunately, that is not a public process. He is an employee entitled to the same privacy rights as every employee, and so we do not evaluate and discuss his employment future with the public until the decisions have been made. And that day is today, when our decision was made. We vote today. I also will be voting in favor to renew his contract, as is the normal course of all boards of education. This is not a political decision. This is the employment decision that affects a very valued employee. It is the right and proper thing to do, and I am proud and excited and thrilled to be leaving the district in such wonderful hands as Dr. Hines.
Okay, thank you, Beth, and thank you all board members who expressed your opinions. I think I'll call it for a vote now. I read the resolution before. I don't think I need to read it again. Do I have a second on the resolution?
You did, ready. We got
Okay.
the second ready.
Okay, well, we have it again.
I hear Mary whispering in my ear.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, I believe it's 7-0. Okay, congratulations. Yeah. Okay, any old business? Anybody have old business? Anybody have new business? Okay, no, I take that as a no. Okay, this is now the second opportunity for the community to be heard. Would anybody like to step up?
Can I do the community, the ones that I received first?
Yeah, okay,
We've received, Jen, you could stay. We just received 2 community comments for the second round, and the first one is from our beloved McGarrah Reagan. This will be quick. I want to thank the Port Washington community, particularly my Manor Haven and physical education families, for 31 spectacular years here in Port. My sadness at leaving keeps creeping up on me at unexpected moments. My last project, ACES, and field day really threw me for a loop. I will miss my students more than I could possibly express. I hope they will continue to live happy, active, and healthy lives. Most importantly, I want them to experience as much joy in movement as possible. Thank you again, Port. This journey has been amazing. Oh, bye, Ms. Megan. Okay. One more. I am going to apologize. I know I'm not going to read the name properly. Hai Ying Dong. I hope I read it right. Hi, BOE. Please keep masks on indoors. Not all kids have been vaccinated, so there will be a great chance of virus spreading among the kids, whether they are symptomatic or not. Kids have been shown to spread the virus to others. We do not need to repeat this past year. Until all kids are required to be vaccinated, we should keep the mask on. This should be put on the required list of vaccines that the school district, this should be put on the required list of vaccines that the school district mandates. In regards to extending the superintendent's term before its due time, it would be appreciated if the newly elected board members were included in the decision. The community elected new BOE members so they can speak on behalf of the community. To proactively extend the superintendent's terms without consulting the new BOE members and seemingly behind closed doors is inappropriate. This is no different than when Trump placed a Supreme Court judge before he left office. This is not a gentlemanly way to do things. We should have learned that from the incident. This is not to say whether Dr. Hines' term should or should not be extended, but rather the decision be more inclusive. Thanks. Okay, that was it. Jen, you're up.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Jennifer Scotto Robinson from Septa. I just first wanted to say thank you to Dr. Hines and the Board of Ed for getting all of us through this ridiculous year. You were always transparent, and you kept the communication up, and it really helped us parents feel safe. So we appreciate it. Thank you. And the real reason I'm up here tonight is, and I didn't know she was going to be speaking about me, is to thank Stephanie Allen, Dr. Stephanie Allen. When the pandemic hit, Dr. Allen contacted me and said, please contact me anytime. Anytime a parent needs something, please don't hesitate. And boy, have I really listened to that. I feel bad. I'm sorry. I was trying to think of words to describe Dr. Allen. She is an amazing leader. She's kind. She's patient. She is a great listener. She's knowledgeable. I said that she is a walking special education book. I secretly called her the pandemic princess because she really took a great hold on all of the guidelines that came down and was informative. She took all my texts, all my calls. Anytime I started a text with, "I'm sorry to bother you, but," I knew I was going to get an answer. I was never worried. And I just also wanted to congratulate you on your new position as Assistant Superintendent of Special Education. Congratulations, and I hope that we can continue to work together, since this probably will be my last year, I think, doing what I'm doing. And so thank you all again.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Best wishes to all of those honored and mentioned during tonight's meeting. I'm really happy to be able to be here in person tonight and extremely grateful for the in-person comments. I am a mom of two, Julie Corin. I am a mom of two wonderful daughters in the district, one who is in 4th grade at Salem, and the other is graduating from Weber in 2 weeks. First, I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Hines and all of the members of the Board of Education who have really worked tirelessly these past 15 months to get our children, teachers, and staff through the pandemic. But now that we are through the scary part, it is time to insist on change. We should not be acting the same way that we were back in October. And we should not be forcing our students to act the same way they were back in October. So please stand up for unmasking my children in school. The time has come. Our children have tolerated more than young children need to over these past 15 months. The emergency is over. So please take the masks off of them in schools. It's time for them to see their teachers' faces, and it's time for them to have their faces seen. If not now, when? The rate of infection in Nassau County is the lowest since this emergency began. What are you waiting for? The numbers are not going to go much lower than less than 1%. And this virus is not going to completely disappear. Please stand up to our tyrannical governor. My 4th grader is still sitting behind a desk shield. I know they're coming down soon, but they're still there, and their efficacy has been refuted. My 8th grader is wearing a mask all day in this building in room 111. I implore you to go sit in room 111. There's no air conditioning for 6.5 hours, and only to be able to take it off if she takes a sip of water. I picked my 8th grader up from school yesterday at 1 o'clock. She was unable to breathe. That's how hot it is in her room. So please stand up and represent us. Put the choice to the parents. Help us put our children's mental health and physical health first. So please, please help us to take all of our children, if we decide that is right for our families, masks off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tom Gargas, resident of Port Washington for just about 17 years. I don't have a song from the 70s or the 80s, but I do have a quote. And this quote is from a movie that still resonates with me today, to this day. And it's, "You are at your very best when things are worst." Now, we've seen this trait about resonating from this quote in our society since 20 years ago, 9/11, and right up until today in this past year, how we're handling the pandemic. So thank you to the board, academic staff, administrative staff, operational staff, for weathering this storm and being at their best. Now that the worst from the pandemic is behind us and hope is within our reach, let's press on and continue being our best. So as we plan for a successful reopening in September, a full reopening, and we plan the financials and we plan the curriculum and we plan for everything else, we can act today to make a real impact. And that act is to remove the mask mandate indoors for the remainder of the year. I understand the state's mandates and the very real threat of school districts being sanctioned, but statistics show tens of thousands of schools across the country have gone maskless with no risk of viral infections. Our own Nassau County results have the lowest infection rate since the pandemic began. We say our children are resilient, but they're equally vulnerable. Removing the masks today is the right, moral, and very best thing to do for our children. Thank you.
Thank you to the board for the opportunity to speak tonight. Infection rate is so low. Even when it was at its highest, the risk profile to children was clearly substantially lower. Now, with infection rates merely less than the seasonal flu and declining, putting masks on our children's little mouths and noses serves no purpose, but at best puts our kids in extreme discomfort for many, many continuous hours that not many adults in this room have to likely endure, and at worst, puts the children who have any level of breathing challenges or health complications at risk. Not to mention the effect that masking children has on their mental health. Whatever benefit masking children did provide at one time has passed its moment. At a time, masks were thought to be potentially helpful and address an issue that is simply no longer acute. Please stand for our children. As a family, we have been actively involved in our school community. I have personally served for several years on our elementary school executive board. However, if this board and Dr. Hines does not stand for my children, we will sadly be forced to leave this district that we love so very much. Please stand for my children. Liz Melman.
My name is Rebecca Hughes Parker, and I am the incoming junior co-president of Ag 8. I'm not going to top Dr. Mioli, and I'm not going to sing. I'll leave that to my kids. But our incoming senior co-president, Kim Kaiserman, who is unable to be here tonight, the whole board of Ag 8 joined me in honoring our outgoing senior president, Nanette Melkonian, for her many years of dedication to Ag 8. In her 3 years as co-president, Nanette was a tireless advocate for an appropriate and challenging education for students at all grade levels in the Port Washington School District. Among her many achievements include improved communications with parents by revamping our website and our newsletter, launching a monthly parent meeting connecting over coffee, organizing educational events, booking informative guest speakers, which Dr. Mioli mentioned, planning panel discussions, and introducing Spanish language interpretation at our Ag 8 events. During the early months of the pandemic, she helped parents get answers to their questions about remote learning, and later she helped them get answers to their questions about the future of PEP or eSTEAM and many other things. This is not an exhaustive list. She's raised Agate's profile in the school district and community and helped recruit a new generation of members, many of whom have now joined our board. In addition to all that, being hardworking, being committed, Nanette is a kind and generous friend who is a lot of fun to work with. As we all know, Nanette was elected to the Board of Education, and we will miss her greatly on the board of Agate, but we look forward to working with her as a Board of Education member. Nanette, thank you so much for all you've done for Agate and for Port Washington, and we wish you the best of luck in your new role. Thank you.
I'm Regina Moreno. I'm a member of the community and a parent of an 8th grader here at Weber. First, I'd like to thank you all for all that you've done this whole year. It's been a challenge. But as a parent of a child in the district, I'm very concerned with the mask mandate that continues to be imposed upon our students and staff. Science and data tell us that children are not spreading COVID. There are no reports of widespread problems in school without masks, nor have there been widespread issues with children. Children in schools across the country are not wearing masks during the school day, and there have been no reported mass outbreaks in those classrooms. Those children are allowed to just be kids. With only 2.5 weeks left of school, I'm asking that you unmask our children. Let our youngest learners see their teacher smile at them. Let our children breathe free and learn free in this heat. At the lowest ever positivity rate in our county, it's time to take off the masks. Parents shouldn't have to make a choice. Do we send our children to school and force them to be masked all day, or do we keep them at home at the expense of their education? Either way, our children are suffering. Yesterday, the largest school district on Long Island, Satcham, with over 13,000 students, took the lead and allowed kids to choose if they wish to wear a mask or not. I am urging you to do the right thing. You should know we are also calling and writing and marching to make a change with our elected officials while you are waiting and praying for new guidelines. That's what we're doing as parents. We as parents would like to partner with the board, and in particular the Legislative Task Force, to implore Laura Curran, the Department of Health, and the governor in Albany to make guideline changes to end the mask mandates for our kids. Let the kids be kids.
Hello, I'm Adam Block. I'm a newly elected member of the Port Washington Board of Education for the term 2021 to 2024. During this meeting, when 3 of the 7 members have 22 more days of a 1,000+ day term, the board just signed the superintendent to a new 4-year contract extending beyond the term of any sitting board member and any newly elected board member. There was no compelling reason to do this now. There was no public discussion. There was no warning, just a technical vote, and now the ink is dry. While no law has been violated, fast-tracking the contract of the one employee that the Board of Education hires to squeeze it in before the end of a lame duck session, it looks bad for the board, it looks bad for the superintendent, it looks bad for the Port Washington School District, and it looks bad for the community. I'm disappointed in this decision, and I believe that compromise was possible and would have been a better path for this community. Thank you.
I'm Adam Smith, also a newly elected school board trustee. I want to thank everyone who came out to vote on May 18th and put your trust in me to serve as a school board trustee for the next 3 years. Congratulations to Adam Block and Nanette Melkonian. I look forward to working with you both. Also, thank you to Justin Renna for your support and continued service to the community. I'd like to thank the outgoing trustees for their many years of service and for their tremendous efforts during this difficult time. And I would especially like to thank all of the professionals and volunteers who have been honored tonight. You are the engine that allows this district to run. Tonight's agenda included the ratification of a contract extension for a key district employee, the superintendent. As a newly elected board member, I do not believe that the timing of this ratification is appropriate. This is in no way meant to be a referendum on the merits of the employee or the terms of the contract itself. Since learning of this decision, I and your other newly elected trustees have made every effort to appeal to this board's judgment. They feel strongly that they have followed the proper process and have decided to proceed. The decision is made, and now it's time to put the matter behind us. I look forward to collaborating with Dr. Hines on the important work ahead, with a particular focus on transparency, communication, and clarity with all stakeholders.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jordan Wolf, and hello? There we go. Okay. Good practice for September when I get back in my classroom. I'm a teacher in Flushing, Queens, and my daughters are students at Manor Haven. I feel like with the number of voices that have come out for removing masks this evening that I should throw my perspective into the discussion. When I first learned that mask removal or going maskless for vaccinated adults was going to be the norm, I was hesitant. I've had, I'm going to say, traumatic year with COVID. I myself, thankfully, did not get infected, but one of my colleagues died from COVID. He was handing out computers the week that schools were initially closed, and he was exposed then and died within a month. Many of my students lost family members. There were perhaps 25, I know of 25, I know that there are probably more families that lost a loved one. Many of my students got sick, all during the initial stages of the pandemic and this year. Even my remote students. I've been teaching fully remote for the entire year. Those students who have suffered through COVID, they now have the opportunity in my high school to be vaccinated, and many of them have, and their families as well. And for them, I believe following the guidance makes sense, that once you're vaccinated, the dangers of COVID are minimal. You can get sick, but the outcomes very, very, very likely will not result in death. I can tell you that there's something much more discomforting than wearing a mask all day, and that is losing a loved one. That is the knowledge that you have perhaps transmitted whatever the pathogen is that has caused you to lose a loved one. My youngest daughter and my older daughter they're 10 and 8. They are not yet eligible for this vaccine, nor are their classmates. So right now they are back in school. We sent them back in April after 7 months of remote learning, because we knew that Port Washington was taking this virus seriously and had safety protocols in place.
3 minutes.
They have worn masks for this entire time, and my oldest daughter, who has asthma, has had no ill effect. She comes home every day with her mask still on, and she's frankly nervous that there is going to be opportunities for students to not wear masks at school, because the danger to her is not wearing a mask, which if you put an oxygen sensor on anyone's finger while they're wearing a mask, you'll see no change, because you can get oxygen just as well through a mask as without. Her biggest fear is contracting COVID. She has compromised respiratory issues, and there are many students in our schools who do. I applaud Dr. Hines for getting the best information that we can get from the governor in this seemingly conflicted moment of guidance. And I applaud his stance not to follow other districts in going against what the governor has said for fear of either having to send the district into full remote education.
Sir,
or
you've
to have,
exceeded
the
our 3-minute
trustees-
limit.
Right. I'll finish up, sorry. Or to have the trustees or the superintendent themselves be subject to sanctions. If students are uncomfortable in hot classrooms, I recommend instead that we advocate for air conditioning in all the classrooms. I believe that is a budgetary issue that the district can approve. So I thank you for your time, and I wish you all a good night and a good rest of the school year.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Evelyn Gabriel. I first want to just congratulate all the teachers and staff we are celebrating tonight, all the tenures, all those leaving their positions. I especially want to acknowledge the Guggenheim staff. You truly made an incredible, tough year amazing for the kids. We walk out of that building every day with huge smiles on their face and couldn't wait to get back the next day. Huge smiles. Smiles that I'm begging our BOE to let the staff see in September. I know we aren't Long Island's leaders when it comes to masks for our children, but when the decision does fall into the district's hands to remove masks in the fall, please make the right decision and leave it the choice to the parents, regardless of vaccination status. Regardless of vaccination status. Thank you guys. Good night. Thank you so much, Dr. Hines, for all your hard work. Thanks a lot.
Good evening. Everybody hear me? My name is Nanette Melkonian. Good evening. Is that better? My name is Nanette Melkonian. I am the outgoing co-president of Ag 8 and a Board of Education trustee-elect. While speaking in my role as the outgoing Ag 8 co-president, let me say that it has been my honor and privilege to serve for the last 3 years, and I'm excited for the organization's future as it continues to press on with its mission. Our HSAs are an important part of our schools as they foster a strong homeschool partnership. As a trustee-elect, I look forward to working with Dr. Hines and recognize that the current board had the legal authority to renew his contract. But I must say that I am disappointed in the process the board chose to follow. I look forward to working with my future fellow board members, Dr. Hines, and the community as we navigate the future of the Port Washington schools. Mr. Greenstein, Mrs. Johnson, and Mrs. Weisberg, I know that you worked many long hours with Dr. Hines, especially over this last year. Thank you for your service. Finally, congratulations to our retirees. Thank you for your years of dedication to our students, and my best wishes to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicoletta Gargis. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Second to last meeting. Still. Never thought that anyone would say that to me. I'd like to thank Dr. Hines and the board and the administration. It's been a tough year, for sure, to say the least. Adrian, thank you for the crazy roller coaster ride, as I called it. And there's more to come, but maybe it won't be so crazy. I'd like to thank Liz, Nora, and Larry. I have worked with you in the past, and you do truly care about their children, and that's what really matters. And even though people may disagree with what happened with Dr. Hines, you did go by the book, and even though it may seem sneaky to some of us, it wasn't. And people should, I don't know, if hindsight's 20/20, we don't know what the rules are, how the board works, not all of us anyway. So I'm glad it was done by the book, and welcome, Dr. Hines. Looking forward to working with you. I'm happy you're staying. Good night.
Oh, thank you. Are there any other comments? You got some
I
more?
have two. Yeah, I have an email. Okay, it's from Denise Kavanaugh. Thank you for keeping the masks on our children for the rest of the school year. I am one of the many parents that appreciate that you are keeping the masks on. Best, Denise Rivera. Sorry, the email said Kavanaugh, the last name signed is Rivera. And I don't think this is a community comment. No. Okay, got it. That's it. A video. If you all want me to play it, I can.
Okay, I'm going to close out community comments, and we are going to adjourn. The next meeting is June 22nd, and just so people know, I think people do, but the after that, there's a reorganization meeting, which is on June 6th. Sorry, what? July 6th. Oh, it's July, sorry, July. Of course, July. Don't come in June. July. And it's when the new board members will be sworn in. Thank you, everybody. Have a safe trip home, and congratulations again to all of the people who were retired and were recognized tonight. Well done.